If I tell you something, will you promise not to get mad?
What is it?
Promise you won't get mad.
Tell me what it is.
You have to promise you won't get mad.
Okay, I promise I won't get mad.
I stopped taking the pill 3 months ago.
She's Having a Baby is a 1988 comedy drama film written and directed by John Hughes that would find mixed reviews and would add another story into the John Hughes Chicago movie universe. The film takes a look at the lives of Chicago, Illinois newlyweds Jefferson Jake Briggs, played by Kevin Bacon, and Christy Briggs, played by Elizabeth McGovern. Beginning with their wedding, Jake and his friend Davis McDonald, played by Alec Baldwin, ponder the marriage.
I'm on the verge of binding my life to Christy's. And I've never felt so alone.
You were married the minute you met her. 16 years old and you were gone. This is your destiny. To be forever caught in the crossfire between your head and your heart.
Do you think I'm gonna be happy? I mean, honestly.
Maybe it'll work out, who knows? Yeah, you'll be happy. You just won't know it, that's all.
Never before and never again did he nail a moment more firmly than that afternoon.
After the wedding, Jake and Christy head off to New Mexico, where Jake works towards gaining a master's degree in advertising.
I gotta get out of here.
Oh, Jake, don't start that on me.
Come on, college. It's like high school with ashtrays. I don't know where I'm going, and I'm paying all this
You're
money
being
not
weak.
to find out.
They both eventually return to Chicago, where Jake is hired as an advertising copywriter. Christy works as a research analyst, and they both settle down in a nice house in the fictional suburb of Shermer, Illinois. They are visited by their parents, Jake's parents Jim and Sarah Briggs, played by James Ray and Holland Taylor, and Christy's parents Russ and Gail Bainbridge, played by William Wyndham and Cathryn Damon. Both sides seem to pressure Jake and Christy to have children.
This is good, Jake. You're quite a barbecue chef. What fascinates me is how you got it blood raw on one side and charred to a crisp on the other.
Well, my steak's just fine, Russ.
Mine too, darling.
Why do you have to complain about everything?
I'm not complaining.
You certainly are.
That's not complaining. You want to hear complaining? Missy, when are you going to get your butt in gear and get me a grandchild?
I think it's about time too, Russ.
At last, we agree on something.
Everything in due time. Oh, for Christ's sake, they just moved into a home. Don't put pressure on top of pressure. What's the rush?
I'm with you, Jim.
Darling, you would have the most divine babies. Weren't you thinking about it?
Mom, that's kind of a personal matter.
Christy decides she wants to start trying.
Russ, what I'm gonna do to your daughter tonight.
After not seeing Davis for 2 years, he stops by unexpectedly with a girlfriend named Erin, played by Valerie Brayman.
Do you work, Erin?
She models.
Oh, really?
I just did a video.
Are you in a band or?
No, I'm not in a band.
What is it that you do exactly?
Give me your glass.
Yeah, sure. That's great.
Christy does not approve.
How long you two been married? I mean, You are married, right?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Got the band of gold. It's,
2 years, babe.
2 years.
How long are you staying in town?
Few days. Aaron's mother died last night, so we're gonna do the whole funeral.
Bullshit.
That whole scene.
Yeah, David's made me come.
Are you staying with family?
We're downtown at the Ritz-Carlton.
Tragic era coming up. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
A hotel? Well, don't be silly. Why don't you stay here?
Jake begins fantasizing about having an affair with a sexy young French model played by Isabel Garcia Lorca. But he never acts on it.
You're married. The ring.
Yeah. Yeah, I am.
It's okay. I'm married too.
Really?
Are you still in love with her?
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Both Jake and Christy begin a fertility program to try and conceive, and eventually it works.
Jefferson Edward Briggs! Hi, babe. Were you working on the water heater again? I'm sorry to interrupt you, but it's been 48 hours since our last coition. My temperature's optimum. I'm ovulating. I have the pillow set up in the position Dr. Stanky wants us to try so that my cervix is placed better in the intravaginal seminal pool. You can watch TV if you get bored. Here's to successful fertilization, sweetie.
Their lives take on extra stress when it becomes apparent that Christy is having a baby.
We're gonna have a baby. How do you feel? Are you as happy as I am?
I think so, yeah. Yeah.
This film was the 6th out of 8 theatrical movies directed by John Hughes. The movie was filmed from September to December of 1986 near Chicago, Illinois. John Travolta was considered for the role of Jake Briggs, but the studio would not allow him to be cast because his career had cooled off around that time. This was the final film role of actress Cathryn Damon, and this movie marked Gail O'Grady's film debut. This movie was filmed at the same time as 2 other John Hughes movies, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, which was written and directed by John Hughes, and The Great Outdoors, which was only written by John Hughes. Some of the same cast members from both films appear in this movie in cameos seen at the end of the picture, along with many, many other celebrities. All the actors and actresses offer name ideas for Jake and Christy's baby.
How about Little Suck? Dashel, Red, or Believe?
Jasper. Jazzy.
In this movie, you also see a sign for the fictional Shermer Realty, which is a reference to the fictional suburb of Shermer, Illinois, where most of John Hughes' films take place. At the beginning of Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, Neil Page, played by Steve Martin, races a character played by Kevin Bacon for a taxi. This was a very personal project for John Hughes, and he took it hard when the movie didn't do as well as he thought it would at the box office. She's Having a Baby was released February 5th, 1988, and only grossed $16 million on a budget of $20 million. This was a disappointment for John Hughes. This film was one in a number of late 1980s Hollywood baby pictures. Those movies included Baby Boom, For Keeps, Immediate Family, 3 Men and a Baby, and Look Who's Talking. Actor and director Kevin Smith, a big fan of John Hughes, claims that this movie is one of his all-time favorites. The emotional ballad that plays during the dramatic montage sequence is written by British musician artist Kate Bush. It is called This Woman's Work. Bush wrote the song specifically for this sequence, writing from a man's viewpoint and matching the words to the visuals which had already been filmed and sent to her. She wrote the song on the piano while watching the footage on a monitor. The song peaked on the UK charts at number 25 in 1989 and would be covered by many artists in the decades after. I remember the first time I saw this movie. It was with my mom when I was about 10 years old. My mom had seen it, and she was a fan of it. I remember finding it to have funny moments, and that damn song during the hospital scene really stuck in my mind. John Hughes had his own Midwestern, Reagan, conservative, feel-good family vibes that he would incorporate into most of his scripts. But usually his movies were about teenagers. 16 Candles, The Breakfast Club, Weird Science, Ferris Bueller's Day Off. This movie is aimed at slightly older adults in their 20s who decide to settle down. While it isn't my favorite John Hughes film, I wouldn't say it's my least favorite. I will give a 7-star rating.
She's